Although its name means City of Peace, Jerusalem has had a tragic history. But the locals adapt well to difficult conditions.
To the east of the old city, across the Kidron Brook, is the Garden of Gethsemane. In the shadows of this olive grove, 2,000 years ago, began the most significant events in history. It was here, in the Garden of Gethsemane, on that fateful night, that Jesus was betrayed by one of his disciples. To the north of the old city is another garden connected with the last days of Jesus' ministry on earth. In the bustling Arab quarter of Jerusalem, there is an oasis of peace, the Garden Tomb. Discovered in 1867 by a British general, an association was formed in Britain to purchase and maintain the property. On the property is an ancient Jewish tomb, dated by archaeologists to be from the time of Christ. It is hewn out of solid rock, and the tool marks of the workers are still visible. In all points, it precisely fits the tomb described in the New Testament that Jesus was placed in, down to the smallest details like the low doorway and the interior layout. It matches the Bible perfectly. It once had a large rolling stone to cover the doorway, as the Bible describes. The tomb itself is located very close to Skull Hill, which was known in biblical times as Calvary or Gólgota. Even after centuries of weathering, the skull face is still easily discernible. It was a very appropriate landmark for the crucifixion site, that was here in Roman times. Still visible beside the tomb is an amazing piece of evidence. When the angel rolled the stone away from the door, the iron rod hammered in by the Roman soldiers was sheared off, and the remaining portion of it is still there today.
Hi, I'm Ron Wyatt. Welcome to the Arca of the Covenant dig. We've been working in this area since 1979, and shall we say it hasn't been an easy job. In 1982 we were able to get into the chamber where we saw some of the furnishings from the first temple.
In 1979, Ron began excavations near Gólgota. What he discovered there was astounding.
Radar.
Turning his attention to the cliff, Ron began tunneling in and found a network of natural cavities and tunnels. Finally, in January of 1982, he found what he was searching for.
It's hoisting it up.
After several years of difficult exploratory digging, Ron located a chamber containing items from Solomon's temple, which had been hidden there 2,500 years ago. These had been hidden there by faithful Jews just before the Babylonian army came and destroyed the city, and Solomon's Temple in 586 BC.
Now, back in 586 BC, the Babylonian army came down, destroyed Jerusalem, and in 1 Kings chapter 25, there's a list of things they carried off from the temple. Missing from that list is the Ark of the Covenant, the table of showbread, the menorah or the candlestick, the golden altar of incense, and the large golden censer. We found all of those, I found all of those in this chamber with the Ark of the Covenant, all of those things mentioned.
The Ark of the Covenant is made up of two parts. The lid is called the mercy seat in the Bible and sits on top of the ark. Inside the ark was kept the two tables of stone upon which were written the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. Today the excavation site is disguised, and at the request of the government its precise whereabouts has remained undisclosed.
Could you clarify for me, please, whether the chamber in which you found the ark lies within the city walls or outside? I understood you to say the northern wall at one stage. Could you clarify that?
Yes, thank you. We'll do that. It's approximately 300 plus feet north of the north wall. Have you been there? You have. All right. You know where the garden tomb is located? You know that cliff face that goes all the way across from that area over by the Rockefeller Museum? That big stone escarpment is behind the Arab bus station. It's under that.
Whereabouts is this actual site? Can you be more specific as to where the excavations are?
All right. He's wondering if I can be more specific as to the exact location of the excavation. No, I can't. The Israeli government says you don't tell the exact site. However, we have sealed off the original entrance. We now go into the chamber from a location in Zedekiah's cave.
Underneath Jerusalem is an ancient quarry called Zedekiah's Cave. It's about 100 meters from Gólgota and directly beneath the old city, and was only rediscovered in the 1800s. Its tunnels and passages are spread over a large area. The public entrance is directly below the city walls. It was from within this cave that King Solomon quarried the stone blocks for the construction of the first temple, for the cave is full of beautiful white limestone. Tunnels led from the Temple Mount into this quarry, and it was through here that the Ark of the Covenant was taken out of Jerusalem.
Now, from here it's approximately 100 meters to where I found the Ark of the Covenant, north of here. So the Ark of the Covenant, in order to come from the temple to where I found it, passed this way.
In order to hide the temple items from the Babylonian army in 586 BC, a tunnel was dug out from this quarry to where Ron found the items. That tunnel, over 100 meters long, is hidden behind this stone wall and leads to the chamber where these items are found.
I can't see a thing here. I can see you.
Can in this dark.
Yep.
It's pretty good. Sits the place when he's down here.
Behind these stones is that tunnel, excavated 2,500 years ago. Access to the tunnel is not possible at this stage.
The Palestinian Excavation Fund, which was a British organization, found a cherub carved in the wall right behind this sign.
This carving may possibly be the one referred to in Jewish historical writings, which mentions that the men who helped hide the ark marked the way. But even more significant is a small object which Ron brought out of the chamber and has now been put on display in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. A frequently asked question is, why has there been no official announcement of these findings as yet? The reason is very simple. Political stability is a priority for the Israeli government, whereas certain factions within the Jewish community would interpret such an announcement as the sign to rebuild the Jewish temple and would lead to a serious destabilizing of the region. Not far from the Wailing Wall is the Temple Institute of Jerusalem. Here can be seen items reconstructed for use in connection with the temple service.
Supposedly having cast lots.
Items such as these lots for the choosing of the scapegoat on the Day of Atonement, robes for the priests to wear, and here is a model of the temple.
Now, 6 is Israelites, and they were dressed like Levites, okay? I didn't ask if they had checked out their genealogy. Some years back, were allowed by the government to attempt to carry the Ark of the Covenant out of occupied territory. You see, they don't want to give that to Yasser Arafat. Don't blame them for that. But anyway, we want to move it out of there into Israeli territory. They got about 1/3 of the way back through the tunnel, and all of them died of massive brain hemorrhage. Okay? I helped remove their bodies because nobody else would go back there when they lost contact with them on their radio.
Good evening, Ron. Thank you very much for all three for seminars. Wonderful, thank you. My question is that you said that you had the blood of our Lord examined by the Israelis.
That's correct.
What was their determination of that?
Okay. Now, we won't be able to take second questions. I'm sorry if you're on your second one, please just step out. I love you, but we're running out of time. Real quickly, okay. Dried blood is dead blood. Everybody knows that, all right? They can test the blood of the pharaohs, the mummies of the pharaohs, all right? There's certain things they can do. They cannot get a chromosome count by any method I'm familiar with, all right? Things keep changing. I don't profess to know everything.
However, there's no way I know that you can get a chromosome count out of dead blood. You can get a DNA and some other things, but not a chromosome count, all right? That's done by living white blood cells. Now then, first of all, in this analysis, I took the blood into a laboratory in Israel. I asked one of the people I work with in antiquities, where is a good laboratory that does reliable work? And they said, such and such, such and such. I took it. I just said, please examine this blood and tell me what you can tell me about it. All right? They said, well, look, we're going to reconstitute it. We're going to put it in normal saline and keep it at body temperature for 72 hours with gentle swirling. All right? That's their business. That's great. I said, now I want to be there when you check it out. They said, fine. So I was back. They checked it out. I said, now, they said it's human blood. We can tell that. They did whatever tests they need to do. And then I said, take some of the white blood cells and put them in a growth medium and keep them at body temperature for 48 hours. And they said, well, that'll do no good because it's dead blood. I said, would you please do that for me? And they said, okay, we'll do it. So anyway, I said, I want to be there when you take it out and examine it. So I was back there. They took it out, examined it under a microscope, and the one technician called the other one over there, and then they called the boss over there, and they were talking Hebrew a mile a minute there for a little bit, and they looked at me and they said, Mr. Wyatt, this human blood only has 24 chromosomes in it. Everybody else has 46. You see, 23 from your mother, 23 from your father, 22 autosomes from your mother, 22 autosomes from your father. You get an X from your mother, you may get an X or a Y from your father, all right? This blood had 23 chromosomes from the mother's side, one Y chromosome only. You see, the child could not have developed if they hadn't had the autosomes from the mother. So all of his physical characteristics were determined by his mother's side of the family, her autosomes. His maleness was determined by this one Y that came from a source, not a human male. Then they said, this blood is alive. And then they said, whose blood is this? I said, it's the blood of your Messiah. And I assure you, those men's lives have changed.
The Temple Institute displays such items as this lamp top, as Rebecca shows here. Significantly, one item they are not reconstructing is the Ark of the Covenant, for the belief is that it will one day be found again. And for many, such an event would be a signal to commence the reconstruction of the temple. The Dome of the Rock stands in the way of the construction of a third temple, but there are some who see this as only a temporary obstacle.
We are looking at the area of the western wall.
Underground here is a large display model showing the history of the Temple Mount. For the Orthodox Jew, the temple is the focus of their aspirations, the dream upon which rests the hope of restoring Israel to international greatness once again, as in the days of King Solomon.